I'm Megan. I'm an English teacher and a mom to 2 teenagers. I'm reading the Twilight books and talking about what I enjoy about them and what is problematic. Today we're talking about chapter 2. Let's start with some issues. First, I think Stephanie Meyer is too heavy with characterization in this book. Even young readers, I read novels with students regularly, and I find that they're pretty good at inferring what character traits authors want them to pick up on in their characters. It's actually one of the skills I find that my students are the best at. So I just don't really think it's necessary to repeat over and over and over what traits you want your characters to have. And Stephanie is repeatedly telling us that Bella is super intelligent. She's very clumsy. She tells us this in Twilight repeatedly. She tells us this in Midnight Sun repeatedly. And she keeps telling us this over and over and over and over again in all of the chapters as we kind of go forward. It's just an area that really stuck out to me and was kind of cringy. And so some examples from this chapter are talking about playing volleyball on page 24. In page 31, again, they're talking about volleyball and how everybody's learned not to pass her the ball. And then on page 28, it mentions that her sturdy truck is really good for her because she's accident prone. Then also, again, she does this with her intelligence. And in this chapter, similarly to what I talked about in chapter 1 with all of the classic literature, in this chapter, we're talking about Wuthering Heights. She's saying that she just decided to read Wuthering Heights again just for the fun of it because she already remembers everything that happens and already knows everything. And then on page 31, she has a straightforward, very easy quiz about it, which is fine. We can show that she's intelligent without, like I said in the first chapter, without trying to make it like she feels like she's better than everybody. She can just enjoy this literature, and I would probably feel better about it than the way that it's presented, which for some reason just reads as Ella thinks that she's better than other people, which I'm not sure is Stephanie Meyer's intention. I don't think that's what she wanted you to pick up on it, but that's how I read it, at least as an adult. Second, the boys in this book are written so cringy. They are so obsessed with Bella, and it very obviously makes her uncomfortable. You can just tell reading the book that she's uncomfortable. You can tell in Midnight Sun, Edward can tell she's uncomfortable. He can't read her mind, so he doesn't know what she's thinking, but he can tell that she's uncomfortable, and he kind of plays into that, and later on we can talk about that. But it's problematic to me that Stephanie Meyer has every single one of these boys just totally obsessed with her, realize that she's not really interested, and continue to engage in these behaviors that just are not really necessary and don't really respect her as a human being. Some examples of that in this chapter are that page 24, it says Mike came to sit next by me in English and walked me to my next class with chess club Eric glaring at him all the while. So Eric is glaring at Mike because he's walking Bella to class. Similarly, Eric later throws a snowball at Mike on page 32 because Mike is again walking Bella to class. And then on page 41, Mike is mad that Edward was friendly enough to Bella in class after he returns and not glaring at Bella like he wanted to kill her. This is upsetting to Mike that now Edward is trying to be a nicer person to her. And I think all 3 of those portrayals and just some other things too that pop up in this chapter are just showing that Stephanie Meyer is not really writing Bella as a human being who's deserving of not being treated like this. I think it would be better if she let somebody calling this behavior out. That doesn't really happen. Bella just finds ways to kind of let them each down gently, and we can talk about that more later. But it is frustrating to read as an adult who works with a lot of teenagers, who has teenage kids. It's frustrating to read literature that includes things like this, that has to do with teenagers learning how to be in relationships, that has some toxic, problematic behaviors in it, and they don't really get called out in the literature. And so it would be nice if that was called out. I think I would have preferred that. But anyway, I'm going to wrap up here before this gets super duper long, and I'll come back and talk about Edward in this chapter tomorrow.